Hey everybody. I just had a thought, and I don't know, I've been thinking a lot more recently, just in general. So I figured I'll talk about some stuff here. Politically, I think I'm more of like a 2000s Democrat. It's kind of like where I'm at, except I care more about, guns. Even as a young age, I did. I actually had a math teacher scream at me in like third grade math over it, because she loved to talk politics, even though she wasn't a fucking politics teacher. So, no, it wasn't third grade, it was fifth grade. Whatever. Um, but yeah, she loved talking politics and what's going on in the world and all that dumb shit. So she would constantly do this. And I remember I was like, well, Second Amendment, whatever, whatever. She's like, well, guns existing can get people hurt. But then you look at like London or whatever, people are getting stabbed constantly. So it's not like that's fucking valid at all. They're getting hit with fucking machetes and baseball bats and fucking golf clubs, and people are getting robbed with like fucking dumbbell weights, dude. It doesn't even fucking really. Guns ain't the problem. People are the problem. You ain't fixing that shit. Besides the point. Um, so I've been looking into a lot of like Nick Fuentes stuff, mostly just because it's interesting. Um, Having someone who like actually knows what they want, and they're not just like they're not like pandering to voting bases, basically, because a lot of people who are honest, they'll like usually only share one political opinion, just the one. They don't try to share more than one. Um, but with Nick, he'll talk about race. He'll talk about the blood libel of like the Jews versus the Palestinians. They kill the children because they see them as like subhuman or whatever. It's really interesting. But a thing that I've noticed from a lot of modern political discourse is you'll usually it'll be a generic situation of conservative, liberal arguing through like a video call. And what will commonly happen is the liberal side will willingly misunderstand something so they can then push whatever thing they're thinking about. Usually it's usually not even like the stuff on the menu, right? So like during gun control, they'll talk about like intersectional feminism or something, which doesn't make any fucking sense when you want to tie it to gun control. Like, well, if feminism was a thing right now, then we'd be able to fucking do all this shit. That's not how that works. That's not how that'll ever work. But that's besides the point. The difficulty is, consistently you're going to be talking to people, whether it be TV or in life too. You will constantly talk to people who will have one particular view or one particular opinion for not necessarily their own use, but for the ability to feel better. Like this, it's been commonly referred to as almost suicidal empathy, or white guilt, or all this other shit. They'll commonly believe this stuff because it makes them correct, right side of history, whatever kind of shit. The psychology of it's really interesting to me too, because it's trying to like it's like you're looking at a person who feels that just by existing that they don't deserve to live, which is incorrect. Everyone deserves to live. That's bullshit. Then on top of that, they are going to then try to look out. Like they're wanting to almost do a charity. Like their soul is begging to do a charity because they feel like they don't deserve the life they're given. And the charity they end up choosing is always a self-fulfilling, self-gratifying one. It's always I'm going to be what is a spokesperson or a speakerhead of like the BLM movement when that shit was going on, Stop Asian Hate, and then they dropped that when they realized the blacks were the ones beating up on the Asians, and they realized after all the statistics and the data and people really started looking into this shit, you really couldn't say anything about it without people challenging you on it immediately, which is a good thing, I feel, personally. Because if it can't exist in the free marketplace of ideas, then what the fuck's the point, right? Like that's literally been my belief since I was young. When I was in school, the teacher would consistently, at some point in social studies class, world history class, whatever, they would take a very, very disgusting position to be a devil's advocate and then talk about it. So that way you have the fundamental tools in your head to see a bad idea, a bad thought, or idea, and challenge it and attack it practically, realistically, reasonably. And they just don't do it. People just don't fucking do it. They refuse. They refuse to think about it from literally any other perspective. Everything, literally everything. Whether it's Nazism, whether it's like Zionism, whether it's like the nationalist movements in America, which America is going to become nationalist. It does not matter. You cannot stop it. Almost every one of the newer generation, including a lot of like liberal young kids, they don't want to be dealing with other countries. They see the homeless, they see difficulty of getting houses, and a lot of that ties to corrupt local governments, which then trickle up all the way up to corrupt state governments. And I live in Illinois, so I know about fucking corrupt state governments. And my town is definitely not squeaky clean, if I remember right. We had one mayor who stole the election from another guy for like 7 months or something. Like he won, and then the other guy just wouldn't give up the power for like 7 months, and we had like no recourse to do anything about it because the guy who won's best friend was the chief of police. So they were just like, it was like 7 months. The dude had to go to court, and they had to do laws, and they had to push through a bunch of shit. It was really weird and awkward. But that happened in my literal hometown. So I know for a fact local governments are corrupt, and that's where a lot of the housing shit comes from, because it's like, well, you can't put a trailer on that lot. It's like, why not? It's like, oh, because there's houses around it. And I'm like, that, who gives a fuck? I can put a tiny home here. Why can't I put a trailer? It doesn't make any fucking sense. What? And this is life. This is everywhere. You can't just buy a chunk of land, get a fucking old trailer, haul that bitch through town in the middle of the night with your buddy's busted up Cummins or Power Stroke or whatever, IDI, doesn't matter. You can't just grab you can't do anything reckless like that anymore. Get it in a new spot. Now nobody can stop you because it's already there, and then fucking mount it up and stuff like they used to do back in the day, because you're not supposed to move them after they set for so long. That's what I mean by that. Like, you're not supposed to move them, but people do. This shit used to go on all the time. When I was younger, actually, I think the trailer I grew up in when I was younger, before some stuff happened, I'm pretty sure that one was in the exact situation I'm talking about, where it was somewhere else that wasn't supposed to get moved. They said, fuck it, put new tires on it, moved it anyway, didn't get in trouble for it. Like, they didn't care. Landed it on the property, we lived there, and then that was great and happy and whatever. And I'd have been okay living there still. I don't give a fuck. Trailers, houses, that's all the same shit to me. As long as I got space, I don't care. But yeah, housing, food, work. Like, AI is gonna crush half the fucking jobs in America. Like, what are we gonna fucking do? Like, for real. There's no answer. So people like Nick's gonna keep coming up. People like everybody. And the crazy thing is, I'll probably just vote for the people who are basically like Nick, because there's no other option. If I vote Democrat, what's gonna happen? I'm going to be putting my money towards people who care more about Black Lives Matter movement, more than the LGBT, more than whatever. They're going to pull more resources from my state to protect us, like with the police. What do you expect, man? Look at Chicago. They want to take away money from Chicago's police department. They've been saying this shit for years now. And they want to take, I think they actually did take some away at one point, and they probably want to take more. How the fuck does that help this country? How does this help that fucking town, man? I've been to the outskirts of Chicago like one time in my life, I think. Fucking what, dude? Like, what? There's like no real answers for a lot of stuff going on, and people don't want to even think of other options, like nationalist options. Like, I think nationalism is what's going to happen. I think America's going to start try to become a little China, like basically where we just try to be able to, we can make everything here, even if it is more expensive, and then try to use fucking, I don't know, government subsidies or something to make it viable. And that's probably going to be a thing they do. I think I'm going to stop here. I'm just kind of rambling because I kind of went from one point and I'm kind of dragging around and shit and not talking super well. But I will upload this on my TikTok. Also, I'm swearing. You're not supposed to swear on TikTok, I guess, so this video probably won't get shared to nobody, which that's my bad. Whatever. I'll work on that. But I think I'm going to make more political ideal stuff. I think I made a TikTok when Charlie Kirk died, and it was me reviewing food at Walmart, mostly because I was eating lunch at work. So I grabbed a bunch of Walmart food and I ate that for fucking lunch. Because I needed to go shopping anyway. And I remember I was talking about stuff involving, like, about Charlie Kirk, and for some reason my phone didn't record the audio, so now I don't record in TikTok anymore. I record on something else and then import the video over. But ever since that point, I've been wanting to talk more about politics, the psychology of just the way people operate and fucking function, because maybe even more so for myself, I almost want to, like, understand where even I'm at on the slate, because there's a lot of shit that I believe and think, and there could easily be, I could be a hypocrite in one instance or another, and I want to see that. I want to see if there are inconsistencies with the way I view the world and think about stuff. So if you want to talk about this, or if you want to be like, no, you're wrong for XYZ, if you want to argue, you want to bitch, you want to call me personal insults and slurs, I don't give a fuck. Just do it. I don't care. But the thing is, at the end of the day, that I personally want is, I want a future where people want to have children. I want a future where people want to work hard, and I want a future that is high trust. I want another high trust society again. Those are like my personal goals or desires for the future, and I think all of them are viable, except maybe the high value or high trust society. I don't think we're ever going to have it again. We physically can't. There's even with insane asylums and shit, people are going to understand pretty quick what they can and can't do to not get put in those places, and people will just fucking ride whatever that line is, and it's going to happen forever. Yet again, I said I was going to end the video 2 minutes ago. I'm doing the Midwest goodbye, and I'm still talking, so I'm going to stop. And that's it, I guess.